Boom. My button on now. All right, you guys are so quiet. Welcome everybody to our February meeting, the El Dorado Hills Area Planning Advisory Committee. I'm the chair, John Davey, Vice Chair John Raslier. I don't see Vice Chair Brooke Washburn, but she might be remote tonight. Vice Chair Tim White is traveling, so we give him the night off. And then Secretary Bill Jamaica's down here at the end. I'll make one announcement. Have we announced the change in the Transportation Committee?
We should do that.
You have a microphone there. Why don't you jump on there? Because we're excited about this.
Yeah, so joining the board, it created an extra level of workload. So we found somebody to replace me in my role as Transportation Committee.
Could you speak up?
Hey, yeah, sorry. Linda Campbell has graciously agreed to take on the role of the chair of the Transportation Committee. I'm really excited about that. It brings her long tenure in El Dorado Hills and El Dorado County, as well as her broad experience and vision. So looking forward to handing over the reins. So thank you, Linda.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So, first things first. I'll remind everybody, if we're gonna make comments tonight, I'd ask you to try to come up to this microphone. Our presenters will be at this microphone. The microphones are only for Zoom, to record the meeting. They don't work, they don't broadcast through the room, so have a big voice. But if you have comments to make, I ask you, please, we gotta try to capture them accurately. If anybody has a mobility issue, I think we have one floating around back there that is on a table. And if you're gonna use that one, you push the button, let go, it turns green, start talking. So, with that, we're gonna get going tonight. Let me throw this thing. Again, it's hard to drive and talk at the same time. So let me get this screen going. Okay, there we are, and we are underway. So call the meeting to order. That's our officer roster. Adopt the meeting agenda. Any changes from the officers? Making it easy. So when we begin our meetings, we offer the opportunity for public comment for 3 minutes. We ask you to try to keep it at 3 minutes. Public comment for items that aren't on the agenda will go right now. And so if there's things that are on the agenda, we ask you to hold on until we get to that part in our meeting. But Tara, I know you got something to talk about. So you get on that microphone there.
Can I use that one or not?
Whichever one you want. They both go to the same place.
I move this one?
No, you can drop it down or.
I think this one, because I can lay this on top.
Okay.
Okay. And then this, you said people not in the room can hear
if you're on that one.
If I'm this one, or do I have to carry the other?
No. That one will go to our Zoom meeting and just be a loud voice for everybody else.
Do I push anything here?
No, it's green already.
All right. Hi, you guys.
That's
Tara
working.
Tara McCann. Thank you. Thank you for whoever said it's working. Tara McCann, resident, 35 years. So today I just came to ask questions. So there is a project that's going on off of Appian Way. It's at the corner of Sangiovese and Appian Way. Lots have been graded now for about a year, maybe a little over a year. I've been reaching out to the county planning department asking questions, but I haven't gotten any responses until today. I finally got responses today. Thank you, county. I sent a letter. The questions I had were just briefly, what is the status of the project? Are there any changes? For this project, where will the permanent access be? Will there be 10 houses proposed, 20 houses proposed? I heard something about, I think Adam Bain is here. Adam, I think you could tell us, is it apartments? Is it townhouses? There was some changes. I know we spoke very fast today and I didn't understand all of it. Is Adam here? Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, got it. So I didn't understand if it's what the changes were, but I know there's some changing to the zoning. And I'm reading through a lot of documents that you guys sent to me today. Will there be only one access? Right now, there's a construction easement just straight across from the Sangiovese gates. straight across. That construction easement has some we are asking the county to look at that for sight distance, because I know when I drive it, there is questionable sight distance. So we want the county to look at that, not only corner sight distance, but horizontal and vertical, all sight distance. That I know if you live in Highland View and drive that, we often see the Serrano Sangiovese gate backing up to the corner. So traffic will go in the oncoming lanes going up over the hill, which again, and I have video of that. I have video of it. I sent it to Andrea, Howard, and Kirkbone, so they have it. And I just ask that you look at that for this project, because if that gate is there, one big question I have is, do you plan on putting a stop sign in? If you're going to put a stop sign in, that's going to be a huge delay and backup for all of us getting in and out of there. I see that as a public safety issue with backup, with safe evacuation route. I don't know how that would happen. I don't know how that would work. So one, I want to know if that is the plan for the permanent access. If so, safety, traffic circulation. Are we looking at did we do a traffic circulation study? I did read before I got here, was reading quickly through the documents, that the county did request one from Parker Development. This is called M5. It's supposedly been approved for 10 houses, I think, but I'm hoping the county can clarify that. And anyway, there's a couple other questions on here, but the one thing that I want to leave you with is, when I talked to the planner, they said that this is going before the Planning Commission in March. I would really request Parker. I've talked to many residents. We would like to see a presentation from Parker as what the intent is up there. So I think it would be very nice for them to come here before going before the Planning Commission and give the residents at least an idea of what's going to go on, and give us the opportunity to look at it and public comment. Because I believe it has to, because of the rezoning, it has to go through the planning process. I believe it still has to go through the discretionary, even though it was M5 through the specific plan, because it's a change in zoning, and I believe some other changes that negate it, that require that. But that's just what I read from the county. So I'll leave it at that. And
I had a little bit of information to share with you on this, and I talked to Kirk before you got here this evening.
thank you.
Kirk's willing to entertain a subcommittee, because that would probably get us information first or faster.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Subcommittee can still make findings and submit them, even if we don't have a chance to vote on it formally. And we didn't know that we have a timeline that might be a question. So if you're
Yeah.
willing to be involved in the subcommittee,
Absolutely.
perfect. Then
Okay.
I'll offline after this with Kirk. Probably tomorrow we'll see what's availability looks like. And if you're available, we'll try to sync it up.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for
Tara,
listening.
Tara, would you get with Linda on the
Yes.
traffic
Yes.
aspect of that?
Sure.
We'll add it to our agenda for our meeting with planning and DOT next month.
The thing to do would be for you to form a group, get your neighbors together, and then meet with Linda, and then we would follow the guidelines that we have for APAC.
But we want to be mindful of the time challenge too, and Kirk's been willing to.
I know, but I'm just saying, yes, okay.
Can we get them to come in April?
Get your group started first, present all of it to Linda, and then we'll see, we'll go from there when we would have it come up.
So we've got the group, we've got the letter to county, the planner, and then I've got I just emailed John, but I'll email you guys requesting when's a good time to.
All right, get it all to Linda.
Okay, thank you.
And we have her email if you need. I'll send it to you later. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So are there any other public comments tonight? Linda, thank you.
Everybody, Linda Campbell, El Dorado Hills. So in a planning commission meeting a few weeks ago, Commissioner Williams questioned the difference between APAC and the Diamond Spring and El Dorado Community Advisory Committee, since they were referenced as providing feedback into a project. So that particular advisory committee was in fact created by a resolution, and they operate based on guidance from a supervisor. So that's the difference for those committees and commissions that are actually listed on the county website versus what APAC is. However, I did go to the APAC webpage. Last updated 2018, I noticed it's defined as an autonomous group, but it also says associated with the El Dorado Hills Community Council. So some of my question is, I don't know if the community council is continuing, if there's another structure that's being put in place, but just a
Well,
reminder that it would be
yeah.
good to
We probably need
update
to
that
update it,
webpage.
yeah. And we
Yeah.
updated that in 2018 because after Supervisor Heidel was elected, he drove the community council as sort of a citizen group. And then and Sam Bradley at one point had a supervisor sort of oriented community council. But when John was elected supervisor, he sort of pulled it in, aligned it with the county's strategic plan, and we operated that way. But we probably need to update that, and we'll put on the agenda for next month. And the voting members can have a say of, here's the proposed language, and we'll update it.
I personally think that's something that you might want to bring up with Supervisor District 1. Because, because, I was a member of the community council for almost 10 years. And it had ebbs and flows where you had a whole bunch of people come and then you had nobody come and all kinds of different things. And I think without having a community council as a forum for District 1 is not a great idea. So, that might be something we should look into.
We can entertain some opportunities to do maybe a community-driven gathering if the community feels it's appropriate. But I'm sure we could take ideas on that. And so
Under the auspice of APAC or something?
probably not.
No.
But our focus is very,
Yeah, right.
yeah. So
Can I just say one thing, just I know I have to return, but I didn't mean to say we have our committee complete. If anybody would like to be on the subcommittee for this small project, it's just a brief amount of time. Please come see me subcommittee for the M5 project.
okay. So is there any more comments in the room? I see one hand up. Let me get over here. Sorry, I'm trying to drive and talk. And that's Bill. You should be able to unmute and talk now, Bill.
Gentlemen.
Oh, you'll be next. Oh, well, I don't know where Bill went. Well, then I guess it's your floor now. Please jump up. Hello.
I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is John Sorensen. I moved here in February of '87. Got recruited for APAC in '88 for a project called Rancho Dorado, which went under and which you now know as Saratoga Estates, finally. Okay, vastly different. I was chair of APAC for 2 terms in the mid-90s. I was chair of the Serrano subcommittee from its inception up until when I kind of dropped out of this, 2002, something like that. I wrote the original bylaws in the early 90s. I don't know whether I'm going to get involved in this again, but I have a lot of institutional memory. If people ever want to talk or anything.
That'd be perfect. And we might just not let you leave tonight. So thank you. It's good to see you. All right. And I don't see any more hands up. So sorry, I'm going to jump over. No, it's not there. Okay. Next item on the agenda. See if I can catch up with myself here. We remind people how to become a voting member of APAC. Remind everybody, if you live in El Dorado Hills, you're a member. If you want to be a voting member, we ask that you volunteer to work on a project, a review project, a subcommittee, an ad hoc, or volunteer your time in some fashion, and that qualifies you to be a voting member. And then you could vote in December to kick us out and have somebody else do this. So next, supervisor communications. Supervisor Greg Ferrero is here, District 1. Hello, Greg.
Good evening.
And you might have to lift that up towards you a little.
Chair's a little smaller.
There you go.
Don't wanna break it. Good evening, everyone. Greg Ferrero, the newly appointed supervisor for District 1. Thank you again for letting me speak. John, I'm not starting the community council meeting. Maybe you can work on George for
I can't
District
hear
2. Do you hear me? I am certainly open to having community meetings, but we're not gonna have a community council meeting or group. So yeah, I took office January 7th, and it has been quite the month. drinking from a fire hose, just getting, ramped up and, just being a county employee, going through all of the, sexual harassment, workplace violence training, all that stuff, meeting with all the department heads, attending copious amounts of meetings. And yeah, it's a challenge for sure. But I think it'll, I'll settle in. It'll take a few months, and it's been fun. It's been a challenge, and I look forward to it. But the APAC committee has been gracious enough to let me speak and address the group before all of their meetings, and I certainly appreciate that. And I intend on coming to, all, if not most of the meetings to do that. Part of the appointment process is as a board, we volunteer, get appointed to different boards and commissions, regional and local. And I will be a board member of the Capital Southeast Connector JPA, which I've yet to go to a meeting yet. I think the first one I'm attending is in a week or two. I'm on the Behavioral Health Commission for the county and the El Dorado County Transportation Committee, which is the organization that allocates traffic or roadway funds for our county that are filtered through the state. And I'm also going to be a board member on CSAC, which is California State Association of Counties, which my first meeting is tomorrow. And so, yeah, there's a lot. It's a learning process, and it's quite the challenge. But some things that I've done in the last month is we created first of all, let me introduce my assistant, Cindy Munt, back there, wave. Cindy was John Heidel, my predecessor's assistant, and it is great to have her because she knows how to navigate, everything in the county. When I need to, I'm still learning names and meeting people, and she knows everyone and knows the processes, and so that is a huge benefit. And I'll introduce my planning commissioner, David Spar, who has about 35 years experience in city and county government and economic development for cities and counties. So I am privileged to have him as my planning commissioner. Last week I attended the El Dorado County Tourism Summit. It's a summit that the county hosts to basically strategize on how to increase tourism to our county. And there was members from wineries and people that own bed and breakfasts and hotels in the region, and members from the Visit California. And we have a great county with a lot of tourist opportunities, and that's something I would like to expand upon. Between our wine region and American River and the Sierra Nevadas and Coloma Park, or a lot of opportunities. So I'd like to expand on that. We started a Facebook page. You can follow me on Facebook. Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong. It's Greg Ferrero, District 1 Supervisor for Facebook. And next door, it's District 1 Supervisor Greg Ferrero, and that's Ferrero. Everyone spells it A-R-O, but I'm not Geraldine. Something that is I don't know if you've heard, I might have spoke about this last month, the glassy wing sharpshooter. It's an invasive pest that attacks, I guess it can devastate the wine region. It thrives on grapes. And so there's been, Department of Agriculture for the county has set up traps throughout the county, and they found some of these glassy wing sharpshooters in the Serrano area. The sharpshooters also like crepe myrtle trees, and there's a lot of crepe myrtles up in the Serrano area. So they found some of these sharpshooters, and they want to keep this problem localized. And so between the Department of Agriculture and the California Department of Food and Agriculture, they sent out 17,000 mailers to the community of El Dorado Hills up into Cameron Park, explaining the problem with pictures of the pest and the plan for the eradication. And that plan is going to start later this month with a spraying of individual properties. And they hosted a conference call or a Zoom call last month and for the community. And you know, like everything else, there's probably 30 people on a call out of, you know, 17,000 people that got this letter or this postcard. But they're going to start eradicating next month. And what they're going to do is they're going to go door to door and obtain consent to go in people's yards and to spray. They'll either spray up in the trees or bushes, or they can put something in the ground in the roots to where the roots will absorb the pesticide also. There was a concern, a few concerns about accessing properties without permission, and Department of Agriculture has assured me that they will get consent, I think written consent from every property owner before they go on the property. They actually want to set up more traps also, and they're going to obtain permission to do that also. So hopefully we can keep this problem localized so it doesn't go up the hill into our wine region. You know, it's an interesting time to come on the board because everything we're talking about is budget cuts. And we had an in-depth conversation yesterday regarding the transient occupancy fees or tax that we collect from our the VRBOs up in Tahoe and the hotels in the county. And last year we allocated about $9.5 million to different county programs, supplemented some fire departments up in the Tahoe region for their responses for tourist calls. And then we were also providing money to quite a few outside agencies, the chambers, or not chambers, but the welcome centers, visitor centers, things like that, arts and culture center, cemeteries. There's a whole gamut. But we had to cut $2 million out of that budget on projections for next year. And so we pretty much left the county programs whole. We did cut economic development about $500,000. We eliminated all of the contributions to the outside agencies, and we left about $800,000 to supplement the fire departments up in the Tahoe region, and I think Georgetown also, it gets a little bit of money. And then later down the road in April, we're going to be deciding, you know, on county programs, what, if any, we have to cut back. And, you know, simultaneously, the cost for everything is going up, whether it's asphalt for the roads. Adam can testify to that. We're negotiating salaries now with all of the different unions, and I guess that's kind of a ongoing process. But you know, it's just it's unfortunate that you know, we come in as a new supervisor, and first thing we're doing, we have to cut. And I don't think I was on a call a couple of weeks ago with CSAC, which is it's an advocate. It's California State Association of Counties. It's there's members from every county in the state, and they advocate on county's behalf with the state on state projects and things like that. And the state released their budget. I think it's $322 billion, and it's highly anticipated that number is going to get adjusted, and they call it the May revise, and it probably will be a lot worse than that $322 billion come May, especially after these fires in LA that just took place. The agenda items for the board meetings have, you know, they have been too eventful. We spent 3 meetings listening to departmental presentations, and we do that annually, where every department comes in and provides about a 20-minute brief on what they do, what they accomplish, and what their challenges are. And so for me, it was great. It was interesting because I got to learn about all the, you know, different departments in our county. Another thing that's probably going to be cut is and we know with Kathy Guerrero, with the first 5 El Dorado hubs there's 5 or 6 county libraries throughout the county, and in each county they have a county hub where they have members of the first 5, and they work in the libraries, and they provide resources to, you know, it could be directing people to mental health programs. It could be providing, you know, food for the needy, but they're funded through a tobacco tax. And then the county was supplementing them with some funds also. Well, they're losing that tobacco money starting in June. So we're trying to decide how we're going to proceed with those programs, if that program will continue. Maybe our internal agencies can pick up the responsibility for those, whether it be Health and Human Services or in combination with the library. So we're gonna have to figure that out. But that's something, it seemed like it was a great program, but their funding got cut by the state, the money that we're getting from tobacco taxes. I'd like to just publicly thank, I know probably some of you saw the presentation that Assemblyman Joe Patterson made in honor of our John Heidel. And they actually, on February 3rd, the Assembly floor session was, they adjourned the meeting in John's honor. And his wife was there and a couple daughters, and I know Cindy attended. And it was quite the honor to John, because John was the epitome of a public servant and has been involved in El Dorado Hills for so long. And he's definitely missed. I'd love to be able to pick up the phone and, you know, reach out to him and get his advice. I have an opening on a commission for the appeals board, if anybody is qualified and interested. The assessment appeals, if assessment of a property is appealed, it goes to a board and they make recommendations. The requirements are kind of strict. You have to be a CPA or a public accountant, a real estate broker, attorney, or an appraiser. So it eliminates a lot of us. But if you know anyone that might be interested for El Dorado Hills, that's the only commission I have yet to fill. So with that, I'm willing to take some few questions if you want. Tara had a question I was going to answer. No, I've dropped a last. Well, you're going to meet with Kirk, right, on that? Yeah. So I got a briefing on that. And in a nutshell, you want to, and I lived right down the street from this project for 14 years. It's zoned for 10 homes. They want to double the size, or a shared wall home. So yeah, that has to go through the planning commission. It's going to have to come to the board because it is a rezone. Yeah. But I know you're meeting with him, so let him meet with you. Then you can ask whatever questions you want, and then we'll follow the process. Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am. You know, I haven't seen, I mean, I toured it, and I think it's still in the, is it still in the EIR stage?
They've done the draft.
Heard a word about it.
They completed the draft, but the county has not, so how it works is, county's required to come back and offer a public meeting for the draft to get public input. That was my Brown Act violation letter to the county. They had it's listed on the planning page, of the county. It's listed that July 11th, there'll be a meeting in the planning commission room to get public comment for the Generations project. Planning didn't know about it. It wasn't an official planning meeting. There were 2 planners present.
You said it's from July?
From July 11th.
Last year. Yeah.
They violated the Brown Act because they didn't hold it as an official.
All right.
I'm just.
No, I know, but we're getting into too much detail. It's still in process. I haven't heard anything. I'm kind of like day by day right now. I look at my calendar tonight and see what I'm doing tomorrow. But nothing's come across my desk regarding that project in the last month.
Yeah, we haven't had anything
No,
back
it's kind of
yet.
been
And so,
solid.
yeah, the next item will be the final on the EIR.
First, we have to have a public meeting on the draft, because we haven't had that yet.
I believe they did, but the one you're talking.
July 11th.
Let's
Okay.
move on.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
All
should,
right. Anyone
I'll find
else?
it in the record, so,
Anyone else have any questions?
all right.
Greg?
All right.
I have a question for you. I think John used to also have meetings with Folsom. Their cooperation between Folsom and El Dorado County. Do you have those kind of meetings? Are you continuing those kind of meetings?
I wasn't aware of them. I mean, if there's something to meet about specifically and, you know,
I think,
yeah.
No, it's, yeah, the 2x2s.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
I'm
I
happy to
think,
meet with them, yeah.
because I
But
think
there's gotta be something, I don't want to just go and meet for, you know, to have a meeting. I mean, there's gotta be something specific to meet
because
about.
it's very important because of the way Folsom is building an extra city right on our border. I think we need someone to represent us and to give feedback to Folsom and have Folsom give it to you. I don't know when when did John have the meetings? Did he have the
She just
meetings
said
every month or?
No, she said he didn't meet with them.
Oh, I'm sure he did. I'm sure he
Yeah,
did.
it's been a
Yeah.
while. I know that a long time ago there were incidental meetings, but I don't know if it was a regular.
Yeah, if there's something specifically, I'm more than welcome, but to have a standing meeting, I don't know what control we have over them. We probably don't have any.
Well,
Spoiler alert.
You have to know what
Yeah.
they're doing. That's.
Yeah,
that's
but it's
the whole
done.
thing,
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right. Well, thank you,
Well-
everyone. Hey, be careful tomorrow. It's gonna be quite the storm.
yeah, thank you. So Bob, I'm looking around the room. You're way back there. So Supervisor Turnbull couldn't be here this evening. District 2 Planning Commissioner and Chair. Chair, that's important, don't forget that. Bob Williams.
First reaction is, George Turnbull, you've really aged since last week. So, nevertheless, George could not make it tonight. You know, the big problem about having such a large district, we're basically called around all the way through. George had another meeting for another advisory group today. I had to deal with a call at 4 o'clock today from the Cameron Park CSD. It says, "What do you mean you can't show up today, Bob?" You know, it's just one of those things that when you have a large district, you're torn among, you know, many different constituents. But nevertheless, I can assure you that George does look at your recordings when he can't make it. I will tomorrow at 8 o'clock sharp at his office be giving him a review of what we heard today. The good news is that District 1's Planning Commission, District 2's Planning Commission are planning to work together very closely with each other to make sure that our representation and the representation of El Dorado Hills is heard. And not just as a second thought or secondary thought. Also, that one commitment I've made, Supervisor Turnbull, Supervisor Ferraro have also made commitments that you guys will not be ignored in the future. As part of that, one thing that we hope to advance in the near future is to invite APAC to actually attend a planning commission meeting, to let the other commissioners know exactly what you do, what kind of expectations you have, what kind of frustrations you might have, and to form a better relationship. Another part of that outreach that I hope to see as chairman of the committee is to also get more feedback, more direct feedback. In particular, we have at least 6, maybe more specific plans to consider this year. One of the questions that I have is, well, okay, we already have a number of specific plans in El Dorado Hills. We need to take an assessment. How well have these worked? What have we learned from those before we institute any new ones? And so one thing that we'll be turning to APAC, and I hope you'll accept our invitation to give input in that process so we can actually have firsthand, hands-on, foot on the ground reviews. So that I know that we have a lot of very successful stories that we can tell about the benefits of those specific plans. But there are also unfulfilled promises that still need to be addressed. And so we need to figure out how we address those. So the next set of specific plans really address those things up front. So we look forward to this next year. It's going to be a fun one. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I did say, right, that Bob is the chair of the planning commission. So, yeah, sorry. But we miss Bob up here too. So, moving along. Don, I hope you're ready. We have a presentation tonight. Guest speaker Don Rose, from a friend of the oops, I got to get my mouse working. El Dorado Trail. Let's see if I can get this to go. Sorry, guys. You can jump up there. You have to wait for me. Less of me and more of someone else is a good thing. So
Yes, I'm Don Rose with Friends of the El Dorado Trail, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we support the construction and completion of the El Dorado Trail, which would involve another 25 miles of paved trail from the town of El Dorado down to Folsom, and we also support the improvements and the maintenance of the unpaved trail, both running in the railroad corridor. And so we have a multimedia presentation here,
Let me get that going for you.
hopefully starting with a short video that kind of shows where the trail is right now.
I'm so slow tonight. Sorry, gang. Okay, screen one and share sound. Sorry. So we hope this is going everywhere. And here's this. And okay. Goodbye me. And share sound. Sorry. So we hope this is going everywhere. And this.
Amidst the history of the gold country in the foothills of Northern California, you can experience a wonderful 39 miles of rails to trails pathway. Near Placerville, the El Dorado Trail is 12 miles of Class 1 paved trail, paralleling Highway 50 from the town of El Dorado through Placerville to the town of Camino, while gaining about 1,500 feet in elevation. The El Dorado Trail is a total of 39 miles in length and is designated one of the top 10 rail trails in California by Rails to Trails Conservancy. And what is a rail trail, you ask? It is where unused railroad tracks have been updated to become a marvelous trail for recreational use by hikers, bicyclists, and occasionally horseback riders. Across the United States, there have been almost 24,000 miles of rail trails completed. We are part of that legacy, protecting history and promoting recreation. Across the United States, there have been almost the lower two-thirds of the El Dorado Trail is 27 miles of unimproved dirt trail from just outside Folsom all the way to the train station in the town of El Dorado, where the paved trail begins. This dirt section descends 1,200 feet of elevation and is suitable for equestrians, hiking, and mountain bicycling. Going downhill, it is a fun, scenic, off-the-beaten-path ride on an old railroad corridor. Our entire 39 miles of the El Dorado Trail is officially protected under the National Rails to Trails Act, along with some limited railroad use. The crown jewel of the El Dorado Trail is the Weber Creek Trestle Bridge, located near Highway 49 and Diamond Springs. Its foundations are a century-old historic railroad trestle. It is locked with love. It's closest to the Missouri Flat Road, where a trail overpass is now being built. You can access the trail from many locations. At the old train station in the town of El Dorado, in Diamond Springs, Ray Lawyer Drive Park and Ride, the Placerville Transportation Station, and Smith Flat has a generous parking lot. On our website, you can get a map to the trail. Look us up at eldoradotrail.org. Our vision for the El Dorado Trail is to connect it to the Pony Express Trail, which will then provide a trail across the entire width of El Dorado County, from the western county line next to Folsom all the way to Lake Tahoe. Going west, there are ideas of how to extend the paved trail from the El Dorado train station all the way into Folsom, while also retaining a parallel natural dirt trail. Our El Dorado paved trail would then link to the American River Bike Trail and Sacramento River Parkway. Support us. Use the rail trail often. Enjoy the nearby restaurants, breweries, and vineyard tasting rooms. Plan your visit. Dogs are welcome, but must be on a leash. Support us. Use the rail trail often. Enjoy the nearby restaurants, breweries, and vineyard tasting rooms. Plan your visit. Dogs are welcome, but must be on a leash. Support us. Use the rail trail often. Enjoy the nearby restaurants, breweries, and vineyard tasting rooms. Plan your visit. Dogs are welcome, but must be on a leash.
And I'll ask you before you begin, do you have this posted someplace else? Okay. Okay, I'll go find it, I'll link it. And I'll ask you before you begin, see, that's me right now. Someplace else? Okay, I'm gonna stop the share on that, so maybe it'll stop our loop. There we go, yeah. Technology, I apologize, guys. So let me start this, presentation again. Make sure we're in the right place for you, Don. And, let's see. Sorry. I'm gonna get this, I swear I'm gonna get this going, sorry. From current slide. That was tough. And now let me go ahead and share it for everyone to see. Bet you didn't think it was gonna be this complicated. Let's see, okay. I need one more monitor here instead of the two. There we go. And if you'd be kind enough to prompt me when you wanted to move, I will move it. I need one more monitor here instead of the two. There we go. And if you'd be kind enough to prompt me when you wanted to move, I will move it. I need one more monitor here instead of the two. There we go. And if you'd be kind enough to prompt me when you wanted to move, I will move it. I need one more monitor here instead of the two.
Advance a couple more so we get to the map. There you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So here's the map of the El Dorado Trail. The left-hand half is the unpaved section. It's the brown dotted line, which this shows it ending right at the county line, which is just near the southern end of the new developments in south of 50 in El Dorado Hills. And there's going to be a connector trail over from that to the El Dorado Trail. There's a little wetland in between, which will have to be dealt with. But this shows it ending at the county line, but we're actually in the process of extending the unpaved trail up the White Rock Road, where it will connect to the network of trails south of 50 in Folsom. And then the right-hand half shows the green line, which is the existing paved trail from El Dorado to Camino there's about a mile gap in downtown Placerville, but Main Street is a designated bike route. And so our goal and what we're advocating is a continuous paved and unpaved trail from Folsom all the way to Placerville, which of course connects to the existing paved trail that goes all the way to Camino. And this project is included in all the pertinent planning documents, including the El Dorado County 2020 Active Transportation Plan, the SACOG Regional Trail Plan, and the Folsom and Sacramento County plans. Ownership of the trail corridor is a little complicated. From Ray Lawyer Drive on the west side of Placerville up to Camino, it's owned by El Dorado County or City of Placerville, depending on the locations. It's the old former Michigan-California Railroad right-of-way with the track removed. The western section from Folsom to Ray Lawyer Drive is the former branch of the Southern Pacific. The railroad track is in place as far as Diamond Springs with some limited excursion trains. And it's owned by the Sacramento-Placerville Transportation Corridor Joint Powers Authority, which is a mouthful and includes El Dorado County, Sacramento County, City of Folsom, and Sacramento Regional Transit, and I think Rancho Cordova is joining. So the video mentioned connections to the trail. We hope to continue the trail into Folsom, where it would connect with El Dorado Hills and Folsom Trails, which in turn connect to the American River bike trail, which in turn connects to the Sacramento River Parkway Trail running from Old Sacramento down the river levee, and that will connect to the Del Rio Trail when they correct the shoddy construction on the bridge over I-5, and the Del Rio Trail then runs south to Freeport. There's also the potential to connect to the Great California Delta Trail, which is in a trail project in the planning stages, which will connect Sacramento to the Bay Area, but just connecting into Folsom and the American River Parkway and the trails going down to Freeport would give us an 80-mile continuous paved bike path from Freeport to Camino. And that picture on the right is actually the Del Rio Trail, which is the new trail in Sacramento, running from Sutterville Road down to Freeport. And that it's a rail trail conversion, but they've kept the rails in place. And this particular section, the rails are going right down the middle of the track, the paved path, which is a good way to kind of combine those two things. And then going to the east, we'd like to connect to the Pony Express Trail at Pacific House. There's a couple of obstacles. The Brockless Bridge at Pacific House needs to be rebuilt to provide a way across the river. And there's also an 11-mile gap from Camino to Pacific House, but there is kind of an on-street route to get through. If all these east and west connections are made, we would have a cross-state trail system from the Bay Area to Tahoe. Someday. So what are the benefits of building a paved trail from Placerville down to Folsom? Well, there's a 2015 study done that estimated $12 million a year in annual economic benefits from a complete paved trail with a parallel dirt trail. That's based on an assumption of 800,000 annual users, which is not that unreasonable given that the American River Trail gets about 5 million users. And those numbers would probably be higher now because of the huge increase in popularity of e-bikes, the general increase of popularity of biking during COVID, plus inflation. That same study also estimated the benefits, the economic benefits of tourist rail operations would be something under $1 million, assuming 50,000 riders, which is 1,000 riders a week. Other benefits, trails generate significant health benefits for users. Trails increase property values of surrounding property, which increases real estate tax revenue, and they provide safe commute routes to work and schools. Supervisor Ferrero mentioned, looking for ways to increase tourism. Well, have we got a plan for that? And that plan is not only pave the trail all the way from Folsom to Placerville, but also operate shuttle buses from Folsom to Placerville, carrying people and their bikes up to the top, because it's pretty much downhill all the way. And that would increase tourism in El Dorado County without necessarily increasing traffic, because hopefully they would park somewhere around Folsom. Proof of concept of this is a couple of existing trails where they do this. The Virginia Creeper Trail, which is kind of out in the middle of nowhere in far western Virginia and Appalachia, and a county with only 15,000 population, has 8 bike shops renting bikes and running shuttle vans, and one of them has a fleet of 250 rental bikes. And then there's the Route of the Hiawatha. You can get the next slide. And I rode this recently. This is also kind of out in the middle of nowhere, up in the farther northern panhandle of Idaho. You get off the freeway, I-90, and you go up 2 miles of dirt. You drive up 2 miles of dirt road to the trailhead, and there's a concessionaire stand. You can rent bikes and lights and helmets and get a ticket for the shuttle bus. And you need the lights because first you go through a 1.5 mile long railroad tunnel. It's dark. There's water dripping from the ceiling, and there's mud all over the floor. So when you come out the other end, everybody's covered with mud. But then it's 13 miles of continuous downhill, which is what the picture shows here, with various tunnels and bridges. And then you get to the bottom, and you get on the shuttle bus that's run by the local ski resort. They bring you back up to the top, but they drop you off at the west end of the tunnel, and you have to ride back through the water and the mud. My daughter didn't want to do that, so she rode up over the top of the mountain down the other side. 20% grades. Oh, to be young again. I started out and I said, no, I can't do this, so I rode back through the mud. They get about 400 users per day during their season, June through September, and they're pretty isolated out there, a long ways from population center. They've got about maybe 1.25 million people within a 2-hour drive. We've got a lot more people here within a 2-hour drive. So it could be a huge tourist draw, but it could also be controlled or regulated by limiting the amount that the concessionaire was, the number of people that the concessionaire was allowed to haul. Next slide. So what are the challenges? Well, it'll be expensive to build the trail. Grant funding is possible, but grants are awarded on a competitive basis. And one of the competitive factors is the cost per mile of the trail. The lower the cost per mile, the bigger chance there is of getting the grant. The other challenge will be fitting all 3 uses in the rail corridor. The JPA that owns the corridor supports all 3 uses, the entire length, the paved path, the natural unpaved trail, and excursion rail. Building the paved trail off the rail bed will probably cost at least 3 times as much as building it on the rail bed. Next slide. So what are the next steps? Well, we're advocating for an engineering study to be done to determine how best to build the paved trail and where to put it, which side of the railroad track. We want to continue improving the natural trail. It's been there in some cases for 2 or 3 decades, and it's popular with mountain bikers, horses, et cetera. And we'd like to see the county or the JPA begin the process of fundraising. So that's my spiel. Again, I'm with Friends of the El Dorado Trail. Our president, Jenny McCormick, is here. She can, and so, you know, look us up on the internet. There's a map on the webpage, and you can like us on Facebook. So
I've been following this for 15 years.
me too.
And nothing has been done, actually, because the big problem is if you wanted to do anything on that railroad bed, they'll say to you, well, there's creosote ties, and that's can cause cancer. They have to find a way to get it up. You have that, I'm going to use the term, that Tinker Toy train that does excursions there. They don't want to give that up, okay? And there's no reason why you can't have a path on the side of that bed for people, for bikes, and for equestrian. And it's never been done. It's been done all over the country. I think now that we have developments, big developments that are within a half a mile of this railroad bed, that you should try to get those developers to maybe pony up some money or whatever to, it would be a great, it would be a great thing for this county. Because the only way you have anything paved is up in Placerville. I mean, you've done it already up in Placerville. So, and to come down here, you can't. I'm a road rider. I don't go, I'm at a mountain bike. You wouldn't get me on that road up there, okay? So I applaud what you're doing, but it's been talked about before and nothing has ever been done.
Well, there has been some progress on the dirt trail. We've put in a lot of culverts, so it's not as muddy.
Yeah,
But
well,
there's also been 2 miles of trail built off the rail bed from Diamond Springs down to El Dorado. That was just before COVID. Everything's either before or after COVID. And they've got the Department of Transportation is currently working on a plan to build 2 miles of paved trail extending 1 mile each direction from Shingle Springs, but they haven't been able to
it's
get.
not down here.
Right.
You know, you need it down here where the people are.
Right, that's true. I agree.
Thank you.
So I'll ask the question real quick, then I'll go out to the room. So in terms of, you mentioned the grant funding, and it is competitive, like anything, and we've also heard all that's being, you know, with the budget the way it is now, things are being reduced. So obviously you do some fundraising too, I imagine. So, and I know that we've heard about it quite a bit here. Do you foresee an opportunity for some significant like fundraising events here that I don't know what you could do. I know that, you know, the CSD is looking at some bike parks, and is it possible to work with the CSD once the bike parks are in place to start, you know, maybe doing some events in those avenues, because you have sort of a built-in audience already.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think the cost of building the paved trail for 25 miles off of the rail bed is going to be about probably $50 million or more.
Oof.
That's going to be, you know, a hard thing to accomplish. We might be able to raise funds for just doing the engineering planning. And so we'll at least know how much it's really going to cost and how much it's going to be built, you know, which side of the railroad track.
Yeah, and when you talk about the sides, that engineering study, will it contemplate crossing it? And if it's more affordable and.
Yeah, what has to happen is, and this is kind of an issue with the unpaved trail that we work on, is that they're going to build the trail on whichever side of the track is the route of least resistance. So that means it has to cross back and forth. And that 2-mile section they built from Diamond Springs down to El Dorado, it crosses the tracks 3 times.
Okay.
So it's like every mile it has to cross the track so they can again build on the route of least resistance.
Gotcha. Okay, so now my turn's over. Dave, you got a microphone someplace nearby? Thank you.
Sure. Paving is very expensive. Does it have to be paved, or can you use natural earth and grading and other methods? And I prefer riding a mountain bike on dirt more than I do pavement.
Well, the goal is to have both the unpaved trail, which is a pretty primitive trail, and then perhaps a paved trail, parallel. Both those two examples I showed you, the Virginia Creeper Trail and the Route of the Hiawatha, they pulled up the rails but just left it as a gravel surface. So that's another way to do it. Just leaving it as a natural surface trail, the terrain is so difficult up there that the average bike rider wouldn't want to ride it. I mean, it's some parts of it are really challenging on a mountain bike. I've got scars to prove that.
Are there any other questions in the room or online? You raise your hand on Zoom if you need to ask a question. Oh, you're getting off easy tonight, Don.
Well, thank you, everybody, and
Thank you.
please support the trail.
All right.
Good luck.
Yes, right. Thank you, Don. And if you have anything to share as this develops, make sure we'll put it on the APAC website as well. All right. All right. Well, that was a refreshing presentation, so thank you. The next item we have tonight is a presentation regarding Village Marble Valley Specific Plan, Lime Rock Valley Specific Plan, this conceptual Bass Lake Road US 50 interchange, the interim improvements that may be proposed as part of this development. Kirk Bone from Serrano Associates here tonight. Andrea's here. Dave Robinson's here to help support. And you could just use that microphone. I'll load up this PDF when you're ready, Dave, and just let me where you want
Actually,
to go.
I'm here to support Dave as a person. I will say that one of the many issues that we face, and this is actually part of Lime Rock Valley as well, and Amy Wolf, I can see, is on the line here, our partners from Lime Rock.
Good. Oh yeah,
One of the many issues that we've got to deal with is the capacity of the Bass Lake Road interchange, both on an interim basis and ultimately on a permanent basis. It's a slightly different. The process has changed a bit in that the current focus now is on the CEQA document, and as we continue to remind people, level of service is no longer an issue with CEQA. However, we do have general plan policies that we've got to comply with, and so we sometime late last summer, late summer of 24, early fall, we started to focus on this. We were having some meetings with the county regarding a development agreement. And at about the same time, our cooperative friends from Town and Country were asked to do a super cumulative analysis from a level of service standpoint, which frankly we hadn't done for a while because it's not a CEQA requirement. So it all kind of came together that, well, we probably ought to take a serious look at this with all the information that we have. I will tell you that the memorandum that John's loaded up has been reviewed, and I don't know if approved is the right word, but we spent a lot of time with DOT. I know Adam and some of his folks had some questions. We incorporated that in. I met with Raphael as late as yesterday, just double checking with him. And I know they agree with the conclusion that Dave's going to share with you. So I think with that, I'm just going to let Dave kind of go through it, and we'll try to answer questions, but I think it's mostly going to be Dave's show.
More of someone else is always a good thing. So let me know where you want me to be, Dave, and if I can blow it up.
That's fine.
Okay.
Next page,
Okay.
page 3. Go down. There you go.
There we go.
Okay, Dave Robinson with Fair and Pierce, supporting Parker and G3 with the Marble Valley and Lime Rock projects. Our effort here, we were really tasked to test a set of interim improvements that would add capacity to the interchange, and then to also identify how much growth could occur south of US 50 with those interim improvements. And you might ask yourself, why interim improvements? Why don't we just go to the full-blown rebuild interchange? It's because of timing. It's a Caltrans facility, and that process takes a lot of time. So in trying to just work within that structure, we need to identify a set of interim improvements that could be implemented in the near term while planning for the ultimate improvements occurs. So what's shown up there, I'm going to just describe those improvements, maybe a little bit hard to see. I'll work from the south and work north and just kind of describe what those improvements include. So on the eastbound off-ramp, the improvements include a 2-lane off-ramp that transitions to 3 lanes at Bass Lake Road. And those 3 lanes would accommodate 2 left turn lanes. So that would accommodate the movements to and from to the north. And then a dedicated right turn lane that would provide access and capacity for turn movements that would go south. Working under the undercrossing there'd be an additional northbound through lane. So that would provide 2 northbound through lanes and 1 southbound lane. And then at the westbound ramps would include a traffic signal. So installation of traffic signal control, and then 2 lanes. So 2 northbound lanes would continue through, but also 2 lanes on the ramp to provide for some more capacity and the efficiency of the movement so that you can get movements from the south occurring at the same time as movements from the north. So those improvements, one of the things, maybe just back up, and what's unique about this interchange today and into the future is you're not going to have a significant through travel. You're not going to have to accommodate a significant amount of through travel, and like you do at El Dorado Hills and Latrobe Road, which has a very high volume of through traffic. So it's a little bit unique compared to what most people experience today. So with these improvements, you're able to accommodate with that development to the south about 1,530 units, dwelling units, with these improvements. And that's not taking anything away from the efficiency and the ability to accommodate the existing traffic that occurs to and from the north. Also adds some capacity to accommodate a little bit more, but a lot of efficiency built in with those interim improvements. But again, it's one step into really the ultimate interchange reconstruction that would be necessary and is planned for by the county. Those processes, the interim improvements, could be implemented under what's called an encroachment permit process, which just is a little bit more streamlined. That's a 2 to 3 year process. So if we started now, within 2 years, hopefully you could see these improvements implemented. And then the longer process that would size and design the interchange for the ultimate reconstruction is more of a 3 to 6 year process, because it involves more environmental documentation and it's just a much larger effort. So the importance here is identifying improvements that can be implemented quickly to add capacity to accommodate current traffic and growth, and then plan for the ultimate improvements. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
We should probably say too, we reviewed this with your transportation subcommittee on January 15th, I think. Does that sound about right?
That's about right, yeah.
Some of you had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, and we actually have the document posted on both the Marble Valley and the Lime Rock Valley document pages that we have on our website. So there's a link on both those pages to the memorandum that we're looking at tonight.
So the memorandum is available on your website.
It is, yes.
And can we see a map where this hooks into Latrobe? Right now you're showing it, I would imagine these are on and off ramps onto 50.
Correct.
Where's Latrobe? Where does Latrobe fit on this? Where does this?
Past Silva Valley and.
Well, eventually all of this is going to wind up on Latrobe, isn't it?
Oh, you mean for town center or?
Well, yeah, when this is coming off, okay, yeah.
Well, I think what we reviewed is, this is specifically Bass Lake Road because that's where the development's happening. And there are things that they're going to have to look at in terms of what they do on Latrobe, but tonight we're looking strictly at the Bass Lake Road interchange.
We're seeing the Latrobe Road, Boulevard interchange next meeting.
That process has not started yet. The encroachment permit process, depending on how involved it gets, can be $3 million up to, it can it can go beyond that, but the process gets more involved. I don't have the cost yet. Yeah, there'd have to be some widening to provide that number. The cost is what the cost is. Yeah, I mean,
And then also the timing and the full determination will be what's approved too, right? Between the two projects that they're looking at and what Town and Country's talking about. But the way it was described to our transportation committee was that, you know, the encroachment permit would allow you to get started sooner. And then the full development of the re-engineering of the interchange would follow in a subsequent project. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be conditioned, there'll be triggers, right? So.
yeah, all these improvements have to be processed through Caltrans. Caltrans owns the facility, and they need to be designed and implemented with the approval of Caltrans. So there's checks and balances through that whole process. But the process takes time, which is why we need to identify those interim improvements to kind of move forward, you know, while you're planning for that ultimate reconstruction at the interchange.
Oh, so, and I didn't think about this when we sat down, Dave. So I think that when we looked at the initial right now, without doing any interim improvements, I think it was 400 equivalent dwelling units or something.
Yeah, you could accommodate today, you know, based on the work we did, about 400 additional units, either north or south. And the controlling factor there, it's not the level of service of the intersection, but it's the queuing and managing the queuing. It's just as important, well, more important because it's really a safety factor, safety issue, that you don't want vehicles queuing back onto the main line because it creates a speed differential that's just not safe. So the 400 units you can get on there, it doesn't matter whether they go north or south because it's all how you manage that.
Okay. So the question I had about that, because I was thinking about it, so we're talking, you guys are very involved with two specific projects. So, but there's a third. And so of the four that's there right now, when you talk about the impact, how do they allocate the split between the multiple projects?
Good point. I appreciate that. Didn't get into the details of how we kind of worked.
Yeah.
What volumes we were using, for example. We worked from the Town and Country traffic analysis. So their 10-year forecast, so that's existing condition plus 10 years of growth as a starting point.
Okay.
And then we added growth to that to essentially identify when the facility would break, either level of service or vehicle queues that would exceed available storage or planned storage. And that was the starting point. So it included, you know, what was proposed as the project for the Town and Country Villages plus some growth on the north side.
Got it. Okay. So Jessica, can you, is there a microphone or can you jump to this one? If it's on, I don't know if it's green. Sorry to make you run around, Joe. Is it green? It's about to be. Just push it once and it's turned. There you go.
Ready? Okay. So, based upon what you're talking about, what's the current shovel ready for your project you're showing?
Shovel ready.
Shovel ready date for construction?
If we started today, it would be a 2 to 3 year process to get that approved through Caltrans.
Before you actually get a project PS&E. Okay, so how does that align with Caltrans' future widening of 50 for auxiliary lanes heading east and west off of Highway 50?
So between either, east or west, they'd have to be designed to accommodate that set of improvements, which is part of that process of going through Caltrans, is just making sure that the facility is designed to accommodate those.
Okay, and then do you have any update on where Caltrans is with their auxiliary lane widening and their regional transportation planning program, and or with their modifications, or as you mentioned, a future development or a future design of this interchange that may go to a clover leaf or instead of a diamond? Or is there that known at this time what Caltrans may ultimately propose?
So the first question is, am I familiar or do I know about the timing of improvements for the auxiliary lanes? And that's a Caltrans effort. I am not familiar with any timing or plans at this point for that. As far as the design of the ultimate interchange, that would be that Caltrans programming process.
Sure.
That you know, the 3 to 6 year process where there's an effort to identify what's needed, what type of facility, whether that's a tight diamond configuration that's shown there, or there's interchange more like Silva Valley Parkway, which has the loop on ramps. That gets worked out through that process,
Yeah,
which is
so-
part of the reason it takes time.
Okay, so does Caltrans have a project study report on any early design of the nature that you can piggyback on?
I'm not aware of any prior planning works for that.
One thing I was gonna, and I'm glad you asked that question, because the auxiliary lanes for 50 are in the county CIP, but I don't think the funding is really identified, it just is in the CIP. Bass Lake, Cambridge, El Dorado's, all those segments are in there as separate projects, but it's a 20-year timeline, right?
Right, but they haven't reached that. Well, I'm just, because over from my past experience dealing with Caltrans and my job for many years, those need to eventually jive with each other, and you got to keep it on the front burner. Otherwise, you get different agencies going different ways.
I also had a question too about, because I know when we look at the Bass Lake Hill specific plan, and it's, obviously it's being updated or modified in some fashion based on the Town and Country project, but they identified a trigger point of building permits for the design, the redesign of the improved interchange. But when I talked to DOT, they didn't envision that being a near-term thing in any manner. So
Yeah, near term, it takes a while.
yeah.
To go through the process.
So we weren't clear on, well, okay, so they're conditioned to do the design, but they weren't conditioned to pay for it. They pay for the engineering but there was nothing that said, oh, and this is how it's going to be built. So I didn't know if that has come up yet, or if, I imagine it will at some point.
Hasn't come up yet but in the sense that the county's CIP and the fee program or, the CIP is updated regularly. And if project's approved that isn't currently considered in those forecasts, then that changes the picture.
It's another trigger.
Yeah,
Okay.
changes the picture. And
Okay.
now, there's an approved project that's generating traffic within the time horizon that they're considering, with an update. I don't know if timing,
Yeah.
but with that update would then capture that and then set kind of a new set of infrastructure that's needed to accommodate
Okay.
that.
Okay, now one last
more?
question before the interim improvement you're discussing. Does the shoulder or the crosswidth underneath the structure, does that include adequate room for or bicycle use?
That's something that would definitely have to be worked out. How do you fit that? Do you fit them on the outside of the column? And those are the details that we haven't gotten into
Okay,
at this
all right,
point.
that's good, thanks.
And then I did want, and I'll get back to this room, it's got a lot of questions. I did have, oh gosh, I lost where I was going, but it was about the facilities under the highway in terms of, there is some idea that maybe, like you described, on the outside of the column, so that you're not redoing the bridge, the overpass, in an interim fashion. But there's enough room?
There's 36 feet
Okay.
under between the columns.
I think people had that question before,
Yeah,
so,
it's 36 feet, about
You need the
36
microphone?
feet under the.
okay, so.
Yeah, I did have a couple questions, and I just wanted to share with you guys. So, it really did. I don't know if you guys probably know already, but so I used to do this in my previous life. If you came to me in Caltrans permits, I would send you to intergovernmental review, and then intergovernmental review would take the project and they would work with you through the design process, just like a Caltrans design process, but with the private sector on mainline, on system, on system. So that process is external to the permits department. But then once you guys complete that, which is a lengthy process, it's lengthier than 3 years. I know a lot of people get frustrated because they think they're just going to come in and get a permit, but it actually goes through the intergovernmental review process, which you guys probably very know well with dealing with El Dorado Hills. So then it comes back to me, and then I do a review, and I'll meet with intergovernmental review designers, because there's a lot of things that permits won't look at, that permits will catch, that are not that intergovernmental review will put on their design or walk you through the design that has to be adjusted with permits. So I'm just FYI, heads up. I would work with both of them at the same time, as much as you could, because oftentimes I'd get it and I'd have to send you back to intergovernmental review, and it would be a whole, process. I'm happy to look at it for you guys, and maybe if, you get to that point, give you some, little advice, for what it's worth for my 35 years of experience. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to say I actually was familiar with this when I worked for Caltrans. When I was in the office, I was adjacent to the planning department and intergovernmental review, and they actually did have a full-blown plan document. It was no, I can't remember the name of it now, but they'd stick all those darn things on my desk to read, and thousands of pages to read. But they did have a futuristic plan for that location, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, or but that might be an idea, as to catch intergovernmental review and who your contact is there for really good feedback.
I just have one question. Is that going over the highway or under the highway?
Under.
You're going under?
This is under. So this is kind of working within the constraints that you have today.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the expensive part.
Moving forward, whatever ultimately is planned. Yep.
Maybe for Dave or Adam, with the current state of the state, I keep getting told by DOT that the state is not funding capacity projects like they used to. Do you see this being an issue either with the interim or the final project?
Yeah, I won't speak for Adam, but there isn't a big pot of money available for local jurisdictions, not like it was 20, 25 years ago. So the county's fee program is the mechanism that would fund this. And those updates that occur every 4 years are really important to capture changes in the planning context, new entitlements that have been approved, new homes, new businesses, to make sure that the growth is accounted for, that the infrastructure is keeping pace. That's the mechanism in this county that's going to capture that. And that's why it's so important that those updates occur, and that you're keeping things current.
I would agree, but we'd love to be able to have some state contribution into these projects, but it's not realistic to plan on that. We have been successful with some state-local partnerships.
There are several programs that we've been successful with, state-local partnership program being one of them, but those are $1 million, $2 million contributions. There are also state funds that come to the county through the Transportation Commission, but I know those are all allocated for the near future. So they had a question about what the state plans are for Highway 50, and unfortunately, they don't have any funding dollars for new construction or for infrastructure widening. They're pretty much in a maintenance program. So we'd love to have them do it. We'd love to have their contribution, but unfortunately, it's not something that we can depend on.
Okay. Any other questions in the room?
Thank you.
I don't see any hands up either. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share on this. Oh, wait, Joel's got his hand up. Let me get over to you, Joel. Sorry. You should be able to.
I think I can. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay. I have a question about this. I believe they said that the changes would have adequate traffic for another 1,500 dwelling units north and south of the freeway. What sort of time frame would they be looking at that 1,500 houses being built, with Marble Valley and Lime Rock Valley going for about 4,000 houses total? How long would this be before it would hit capacity?
I can answer the first question. Well, the first item you posed is the 1,500 units is south of 50. And that's unique to this interchange because we don't have the through traffic that we're having to manage. The traffic to and from the north don't really conflict in a significant way through this interchange. I'd like to say it's half utilized because really all the development and use of it is to and from the north. But Kirk, you might want to address
Where those,
Yeah, I would say 1,500 units south of 50 gets us a long way, gets us to where we need to go, and would allow us to would really allow the county to start building up the kitty to get to that ultimate facility. But let me just kind of give you a glimpse of the timing of the timing of projects like Marble Valley and Lime Rock. Let's assume, and that's in all capital letters, that we get a positive land use decision from the board sometime this year. We're probably going to have to defend a lawsuit against Sierra Club and some others. And kind of concurrently with that, we'd be putting together a financing plan and tentative subdivision maps and all sorts of things like that. I wouldn't expect you would see a house structure under construction before the spring of 28, which is part of the reason why we've got some time to get this stuff through Caltrans, as you all have noted. So it's going to be a while, assuming we can get through the political hurdles, and then of course the other side of the coin is the economic risk once your project is approved. And who knows when this project gets approved and we go through these initial planning stages, what the economy is going to look like in 27 or 28. If you all know, come tell me, because I'll be happy to quit work. But that's kind of the process. So how soon can we get to 1,500 units? It's going to be a while. And the beauty of that will be it will allow us to continue to move aggressively forward with DOT staff and Caltrans to get this improvement approved and go from there. So it'll be a while.
well, you say there's not going to be a lot of north-south traffic on this, but where are these people going to go to the grocery store?
I think that there will be traffic to and from the north, but not to the level that you have to accommodate with an interchange like El Dorado Hills, Latrobe, or Silva Valley.
Well, that sounded a whole lot like what they said about Saratoga.
And you didn't work on that, right? Well, I know that in terms of, for the whole project, not just the interchange, there is a proposed improvement on Bass Lake Road to the north. It was in the draft DIR. And I know between the fire department and the county has a small safety improvement project right now for the northbound to east on Hollow Oak. But I think we talked about some traffic signals at Hollow Oak, and I think another one potentially at Hawkview. Is that the other one? Maybe. It depends on what the analysis shows. Is that part of the?
I'm not, the Hollow Oak one.
Yeah.
Bell, but I'm not sure about
Maybe
that.
I'm thinking of the cumulative, the super cumulative is where I saw the Hawkview. So.
I believe that one was also a town and country impact.
Okay, it was. Okay, thanks for.
Two of them are very closely related, but
It's all a
mingle in
blur.
a lot of ways.
It's a lot to take in, a lot of pages. So, are there any more questions here in the room? And if not, are there any more questions online? Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you guys before we have this tonight. So, again, you have a standing invitation to come back when anything changes. And we look forward to providing some feedback for you. So I'm going to go ahead and let me clear this one out. I'm back here. Okay. The next thing we have up tonight, we have some small updates, so we can maybe get out of here in a reasonable fashion. Here's the list. Gateway El Dorado specific land on the right down there, never remember the street. But basically, we did have PAC Trust come and talk to us about this. They have a pre-application in for a specific plan that involves sort of mixed use, multifamily, the warehouses that we've talked about in the past. And it's anticipated, we're hearing suggested that that might be the J6 pre-application hearing where they go to the Board of Supervisors and say, this is what we're thinking about. They get feedback from the board, and it's required because there's a zone change. So that pre-application hearing is likely to happen in March sometime, unless it changes, unless it doesn't. Okay. You can't confirm or deny, but we had heard. Okay, so we look forward to that. The Costco development, we've had no updates about Costco. We saw what the changes were to the plan, just having the gas station go back in without the multifamily and the other retail commercial sort of aspects on the, they call it the north side, it's the east side. But so no updates. I know people are still looking at that. Generation in Green Valley, that was brought up tonight. We have had no updates about that. We're still waiting for the final EIR or any sort of update. And as they become available, we'll share those. Town Country Village El Dorado, the hotel projects at Bass Lake Road and Country Club that we talked about a little bit tonight, they will be here next month to make their presentation. So they have an update again with some of the transportation. They did the super cumulative review considering the Marble Valley, Lime Rock Valley, their project, Costco potentially. They looked at it at a very holistic level. And that's good data we hadn't seen before. So they'll be back to talk to us. There's a small thing, I believe it'll be before the Planning Commission. Summit Veterinary Surgery Center, it'll be in the business park. It's a change of an existing building to a new surgery center used for a veterinarian office. And then a small update, it's really not El Dorado Hills. It may impact in some way, but on essentially it's Cameron Park Rescue. It's Cameron Park Drive almost. It's just the west, Cameron Park Drive, at Green Valley. It's at Winter Haven Drive. And that's a commercial center that will build out in front of the grocery outlet that's there. And this was an approved use from years, I mean, I think maybe 20 years ago. But it's basically building out an entire retail center. AM, PM, 24 hours. McDonald's, 24 hours. And a Quick Quack car wash. So we have the Quick Quack that's being built right now at Sienna Ridge. And this is another Quick Quack. We're probably not going to spend a lot of time on this. Our bandwidth is like this. And we got this much coming at us for El Dorado Hills. So we'll keep an eye on it, but just wanted to share that information. So what was the other thing? And that's sort of the Cameron Park area stuff here. Just wanted to show you where it's at empty field along Winter Haven with some residential units to the east, and it's on the south side of Green Valley, and it's in front of the grocery outlet. And that's sort of the truck turning plan. So that'll be interesting to watch how that goes, and just some of the proposed signage that they would incorporate in the project if it's approved. So we did want to give an update about the traffic fee impact that we talked about, and Adam was kind enough to share information with us last month. The North State Building Industry Association and a lot of land developers that have projects going on, they were concerned about the way that the nexus was decided. And essentially, nobody wants to litigate, but what they ended up doing is that the board approved a tolling agreement, which basically puts kind of a hard stop on those fees. So the fees are kind of there, but they're working through. Adam, if you want to jump in on this, you'll explain it better than I will.
Thank you. We did enter into a tolling agreement. The new fees do go into effect. However, the tolling agreement takes the statute of limitations to protest out to an extended period.
January 28th of 2026, was that it?
I believe so.
Okay, so it's funny.
The new fees will go into effect, or they did go into effect February 1st. However, that tolling agreement allows people to pray and protest, and should the fees change at some point within that period of time, they'd be entitled to whatever the difference is.
So, and thank you, Adam, because you're more of an expert than any of us up here are. We did do a Public Records Act to get the tolling agreement once it was signed off and everything was available. Thank you, John. And so we did add an area on the APAC website for anything that we're going to request Public Record Act documents for. And it's just listed under documents. There's a link in the URL. We'll have this posted on the website probably by tomorrow. But the documents are there right now. Then the next item was, where'd it go? Yes, please. Oh, I guess.
So there was a statement that that was approved by the Board of Supervisors? When?
Closed session.
Ah. Okay, okay.
It's in the minutes that they went into closed session, they reported out in the minutes that they approved it.
Okay, so, because I didn't,
Either they're gonna sue the county or we entered into a tolling agreement for a
Right.
year while they renegotiate the fees, so
okay.
we chose the tolling agreement. Closed session, it was a couple of weeks ago.
I was gonna say maybe when, I'll go back and, okay. So it was just the decision that was published, hence the public records request.
Yeah,
right?
because we saw it was in the minutes, but I don't think it had been signed when the minutes were posted. So it wasn't available, so we just did a PRA and said, hey, when it's available, we'd like a copy.
Okay,
So, and that's posted on the APAC website.
okay, thank you.
Okay. So this is something that was brought to us, a project that we reviewed, and it's essentially a completed project right now, is the El Dorado Hills storage. I think when we reviewed it, it was the El Dorado Hills Folsom storage, and it's on Green Valley Road right to the west of Sophia Parkway. And one of the questions we had when we looked at this is that, the lake is across the street, and there is a wetlands adjacent to it, and there's also the Mormon Island Cemetery, which was moved when they built Folsom Lake. We asked a question, we asked about a hydrology, has this been adequately reviewed? They assured us that it was. However, Mormon Island Cemetery has had some water inundation and it's disrupting graves. And so because so cemeteries in El Dorado County, if they're not operated by an ongoing concern anymore, they fall to the county. This is one that falls to the county. The county has to fund things here. So one of our APAC members did submit this to us, and this was a member that had concerns about this. She was a member of the Cemetery Commission back in 2017-18. This was her concern, and it's come to pass, even though we were sure that it wouldn't be. And we've had some very rainy years, but we've had very rainy years in the past as well. But we would hope that as we look at these projects, that this is something that's being considered, and how we can mitigate this. So here's just a few of the, it's very unfortunate. And it's not just the graves that are being inundated, it's the past. So if somebody goes in there to want to see a relative, a friend, they want to visit, if it's flooded, you're not getting very far. And then unfortunately now the county has to pay to maintain this and correct this problem. I think when we talked about it, we wanted, if it was a potential problem, we wanted something as a condition of approval that the project would contribute to the remedy in terms of the cost. And there's another picture of the water in the grave sites. So just want to let people know that when we look at this, we'll probably be asking a little harder question about water. We always ask, well, is there enough water? But we've got to talk about the drainage, the runoff, and the impact on other properties. And it's always a concern, but this one was kind of apparent that it probably could be a concern. We were sure it wouldn't be, but there you go. So some of the points that I had a discussion with this APAC member, selling plots at Mormon Island Cemetery is going to be more difficult because there's a risk of flooding now. It's, you can't get in to visit. There were no members of, or no measures or conditions of approval for the storage facility to pay for any repairs if their project resulted in these damages. So it's in the cost of the county. She was on the cemetery commission for many years, and she said that cemetery has never flooded like this. So there's always drainage, and it's disrespectful for cemetery when there's a lot of volunteers that are working, because it's almost a historical cemetery. It's very old, Mormon Island. So the suggestion is we need to have hydrologists have a deeper look at these things, and we'll ask whether that makes a difference or not, we will ask, so, moving forward. With that, remind everybody, if you have public comments, you can't be here, or if you have comments you think that somebody's gonna need to prepare an answer for, if we can get them the Monday before our meeting on Wednesday, then we can get them to applicants or people making presentation. And then that way they're not saying when they're here at the meeting, I'll get back to you. If they can get the answers in advance, we'd love to have that ready for the community. Our next meeting is March 12th, 6:30 PM. We're back here in this room. It will be Town and Country at a minimum. And I think we have one or two other things coming up. But our goal, what time was the clock? Oh, well, 90 minutes. We're trying. We just can't do the 2+ hour meetings. It doesn't benefit anybody. So, but if it's important, we'll do it. So with that, if there are no go backs, we are adjourned. I gotta shut off the recording.